Welcome to Geek Epiphany, where in this installment we'll be going to infinity and beyond. Now, we've seen them do it with Cinderella and Maleficent, and soon we'll see them on the big screen presenting Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast.
What is it? It is the live-action remake. Disney in recent years has shown themselves to be particularly fond of taking their classic animated movies and turning them into big-budget live-action features.
And we all know that Disney is never one to just call it a day. So today we're going to be diving into that well-known vault and see which property could be next to make the jump from the realm of animation to the realm of live action.
It's a party in the House of Mouse, and you're invited. So just stay tuned.
Boo.
Boo. I'll just take this as my award for the worst pun ever.
No, it's Jack. Jack is way too good for you. So basically, what we're looking at is Walt Disney Company and their affinity, their recent affinity, for taking our old classic animated material and turning it into live action. Walt Disney started his live action career with Treasure Island decades and decades ago, and since then, the company has cranked out critically acclaimed hits like Pirates of the Caribbean and other
Not
things.
so critically acclaimed hits.
Like I don't know.
Like more of the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, come on. Anyway. But that said, we've seen Maleficent, we've seen Cinderella, and we know what's coming. We've got the Jungle Book and the Sword and the Stone and Mulan and Pete's Dragon, and the hits just keep coming and coming and coming. We're going to see Dumbo.
I still think the one to be incredulous about is Rescue Rangers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that one's coming down. It was
coming.
announced recently. Mike, do you want to give a brief on what that said?
There's really not much anybody knows at this point outside of what I believe was a Hollywood Reporter article talking about the fact that it's been optioned.
Now, that doesn't mean much in terms of Hollywood, but with Disney it might mean a lot. Because they don't usually option anything that they're not going to do.
Absolutely.
Because for them, it's very much a calculated risk whenever they option anything because it's cheaper money for them.
And just a quick recap for those of you who aren't familiar with Rescue Rangers. Basically, how it goes is sometimes some crimes go slipping through the cracks. But
those two gumshoes
are picking up the slack.
There's no case
There's
too
too big. No case too small.
When you
It's going to be stuck in your head. Chip, 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 and Dale.
Rescue Rangers is basically what we're talking about. And honestly,
when there's danger.
We're done with that joke now.
Damn.
Okay. So basically, the idea is that I think Disney optioned this because of the success of Alvin and the Chipmunks. And they kind of saw that these tiny little talking creatures, live action with kids, could work, so why not Rescue Rangers? And honestly, sure. Just please don't make it as terrible as Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Or G-Force even.
Or let's not talk about G-Force, because they made 2 movies for G-Force. Alvin and the Chipmunks, I believe, is going on their 4th movie.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Rescue Rangers, though. That was part of the show, was the fact that they interacted with the human world anyway.
True.
It fits the concept.
It does.
One of their first nemesis was Norton Nimble. He was a human professor.
Yep.
It works fine. We see potential here, because what Disney has done today is taking essentially big, well-known properties that they know have easy nostalgia dollars to cash in and remake. What we're going to suggest are maybe some lesser well-known properties, in some cases, and that we think would really fit the transition from animation to live action well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know some of us had some reservations about this. Initially, I was not enamored at all with Maleficent. I ended up seeing it. I didn't like it. I didn't like Maleficent at all.
And this guy's a huge Disney fan.
Oh my gosh, if I don't like something from Disney, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You're doing something horribly wrong. And just slapping Angelina Jolie on a movie is not going to be good enough to get it off the ground. And it just was a lackluster effort in my view. Retelling a story that didn't need to be retold from a different viewpoint. If you had given me Sleeping Beauty in a live action remake with Prince Philip and dragons and great, do it, I'll watch. Case in point, hot on the heels of Maleficent, they gave us Cinderella, and I actually had to be forced to see it by my wife, and I ended up liking it.
You ended up crying.
I did not.
You cried.
That one part.
Manly tears, man. It's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, live action is a possibility for Disney. They've definitely proven the track record. We have a list of movies that we think Disney should very much consider for their next live action installments, beyond what they've already started production with.
And I'll start us off with, because because we all grew up during the start of the Disney Renaissance, so I think we do need to revisit that. I say the first one that is on the list is The Little Mermaid. For its relevance, for the way it kind of brought back Disney animation.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Little Mermaid would be a challenge,
Extremely.
Very technical challenge.
Yeah.
too.
Yes,
sure.
but if done well, I can imagine the effects and the design that would go into designing the undersea world in
Yeah.
that movie in live action.
Oh,
would be
yeah.
incredible.
And I think the technology has come along
Yeah.
to where we can do that.
Goodness knows Disney
can
would
do that.
use their buckets and buckets full of Scrooge
Of
McDuck
cash.
money to pay
Yeah,
for it.
absolutely.
Sure, absolutely. So what with The Little Mermaid, what you could get is a very technical masterpiece.
A technical masterpiece, yes, but I think a large concern for me would be The Little Mermaid is just, you can't have The Little Mermaid and not have that music with it.
No, absolutely
It's
not.
gotta
And
be
I
there.
don't
It's
at
gotta be a
all mean
musical.
to suggest that we take the music out of Little Mermaid. Richard, as you said,
Mhm.
musicals work in Hollywood now.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been working in Hollywood,
Mhm.
and they're working again.
Recently, too.
Beauty and the Beast is going to be a musical.
That's true. That is
Disney's
true.
live action Beauty and the Beast, they've announced will be a musical, so why not Little Mermaid? And honestly, you're going to have to make it a musical, because if you don't, it's going to be very dark, especially with the villain. Ursula, imagine that live action without her singing. That's terrifying. But the fact that she will eventually sing, it just kind of humanizes her and shows her that she's not just kind of this crazy Roger Corman concoction of half
Well, and what would be
octopus, half woman.
right, what would be interesting to see in the live action version too is maybe expanding upon that a little bit, because there was backstory that was cut out of the original movie that talked about the relationship between King Triton and Ursula.
Which I think resurfaced in Little Mermaid 2 or 3, too, didn't it?
I have no idea. I haven't
There was a
seen those
TV
street
series
videos.
too. I can't remember.
Yeah.
The
But-
point being, they can
yeah.
flesh it out just a little bit to help it fit the more. I'm an animation aficionado, so I really do not like saying that the live action take would be more serious, because animation can be used in a very serious way. But most people do not see it that way. So, you would see in a live action take, you would think that they would feel they have more liberty to go a little more story driven.
Mm-hmm. And there's enough content there that can be really awesome on the big screen. You have sea battles,
and you certainly don't want to take away the music, because that is actually a central piece to the plot.
Absolutely, but something
Hey, that's an excellent
something to think of there though is that if you're going to do the music, you're going to have to find a live action way to make Crab sing a song.
Yeah, not easy.
Not easy.
That's why we
But-
started talking about Little Mermaid.
But if
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
company that's going to do it, it's going to be Disney or What a Workshop, but Disney.
What is Sebastian the Crab? Action figures for sale, 2021.
Andy Serkis.
Can we reanimate Stan Winston to work on this?
Might as well.
No,
I mean, he won it that way, really.
yeah, I'm saying, and we need to get Andy Serkis to be just everyone's face for this movie.
Yeah, it'd be amazing if they live action put balls in his hands and he just walks around like this, making crab hands. Andy Serkis just like under the sea.
I also find it hysterical that there's a faction of like moms. I'm not gonna say just moms, but like overprotective parents out there that won't let their kids watch Little Mermaid because of how revealing it is and how naked she is. And now it's like, okay, live action.
Yeah,
So I say it just as a complete troll. Disney, cast Jenna Jameson as Ariel.
just if you're gonna have people talk about it, you might as well go all the way.
Yes.
I can understand that critique.
I mean,
Although Jennifer Jameson now, by the time she'd be in this movie, she'd be like 50.
okay, true.
So you might want to cast someone else that's a little more
Jennifer
relevant.
Jameson
You
is
got
the
the
first one.
point, though.
Yeah.
So
Well, moving on.
so
All right, next on our list, gentlemen, what do we got?
Richard, you want to go?
Sure. Okay. So this one's kind of people. When I say it, you'll remember it, and I think it's on Netflix right now too. But I think right now with what's popular, this could make an awesome live action movie, and that's Treasure Planet. Because back in 2000, 2002, I can't remember when exactly.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Between
maybe
2000 and 2000.
Disney made this 2D animated movie that had 3D animated elements that was basically a retelling of Treasure Island, but done in space, with mythical Treasure Planet instead of a mythical Treasure Island. And basically all the characters are the same. There's Long John Silver, you got the pirate. You have a legendary pilot that hid away a huge treasure, and then you have these other pirates that are basically trying to find it. Mixed into that, you have a kid who has
Jim Hawkins.
Jim Hawkins,
Thank you.
who has a rebellious past, who's trying to make ends meet with his mother, basically in a small inn, and basically then stumbles upon what looks like it's a map to Treasure Planet. Now, Treasure Planet in this world is basically a myth. No one really thinks it's real. They think that this amazing king of the pirates was a fictional character. But Jim, having heard the story growing up, highly believes it. So he decides to take this map and do his best to follow it. Now, what's fun about this movie is it explores a lot of themes that Disney doesn't explore too often, and that namely is like the theme of the relationship between a son and a father. And that's really the strong connection this movie has, because Jim latches on to Long John Silver in this movie, and the original Treasure Planet, and they kind of develop a father-son relationship since Jim's dad was missing during his birth. But that relationship ends up turning Long John from this bloodthirsty, backstabbing pirate into a more human character who actually cares about him in the end, who cares about Jim, and decides to actually give up the treasure in order to let Jim live. And that's an interesting theme that I think could work well, especially when you put it in space, with spaceships, and giant, like, surfboards, and all sorts of crazy planets and crazy space pirate ships. Like, that's what this is boiling down to, is that for live action right now, sci-fi is huge. We have Star Wars coming out, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, everything Marvel's doing. It's all set in space. It's really super cool. If you put all the Treasure Planet stuff in space with all the really cool ship design that look more like old school
actual ships.
They look like ships that sail the seas, but
that
set
very
in space.
anachronistic design that doesn't make sense, but stylistically it's just
it worked
wonderful.
really, really well. And not to mention that, like, Jim has this habit of, like, I forgot what he called it, windsurfing or gravity surfing.
Solar surfing?
Solar surfing?
Solar surfing.
I think it was solar surfing.
I don't know.
That done live action in space could be pretty cool. And just to begin with, like, visually, the movie will be amazing. Not to mention it sets up lore. It sets up this crazy Indiana Jones-esque sense of exploration. And it's a great world that I think is worth revisiting, especially now that people want to go into space and explore. I mean, that was the whole point of Guardians of the Galaxy.
One of the nice things about it, too, is it's definitely an underrated Disney film. It's not one that people have strong, generally not strong nostalgic attachment to. It's old enough that a remake wouldn't seem like it's happening hot on the heels of it. But at the same time, because it's not one of Disney's more beloved films, there is wiggle room in terms of the set design pieces and the way the story might necessarily need bits and pieces moved around and move forward, things like that. There's flexibility with this film.
And I couldn't agree more, because this script and the movie itself is good, but it is far from excellent. There's definitely some script changes and stuff they need to tighten.
I don't know. The only part I really found that I didn't like was just Ben Gunn, the robot. Yeah,
a little over
Martin
the top.
Short was a little over the top.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the film, it was nominated for Academy Award. It was nominated for the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, and so I mean the quality is there already.
Yeah, if you guys are interested, go check it out. Check it out on Netflix and see what you think.
All right, I'll go because I'm going to buck the trend just a little bit here. So rather than talk about a feature film, I'm going to talk about a television series that I think should be transferred from animation to live action.
Better hold on to your seats.
Well, and this one is a cult favorite. I'm talking Gargoyles.
Oh, nice.
This is a show that was introduced late into the run of the Disney afternoon. And it garnered a cult following. There are still people clamoring for the last of the DVD releases of the third season that never came out. This is a huge series, and it was a series.
It never came out?
As far as I know, they never finished the series.
Wow, Disney. Okay, number one.
Fact check.
Release that.
Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, guys,
Like,
but as far as I know, the series never actually did get completely released.
Wow.
Hey, you guys own Marvel Comics now. At least give us a comic book.
Well, they had a comic run, actually, for a long time. But it was published under Disney versus Marvel. But now that you have Marvel, get some Marvel writers on that. Because that was the biggest problem with the original Gargoyles run, if you ask me, is that some of the writers were just kind of like, I'm going to go this way, and then they go back, and it's just a big circle.
But point being, this is a show that is epic in scope, but it could be done fairly well contained, because much of, especially the early season, you see most of the action in the city. When you look at something that Disney has done with, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the budget and production that's been given to that show, you could imagine the way that the effects could be applied to people to make them look like the Gargoyles. It's well within the realm of what Disney could do on a reasonable budget moving around. My thought on this was if they could make Ron Perlman a convincing Hellboy, and this not being a Disney production, Disney could throw enough money at a live action TV show to make the main cast look like Goliath and company.
Well, they did Lash. They did Lash on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Fair
just
enough.
recently.
Okay. And when the show, because it ran for so long and has so many story beats, then you've got seasons worth of material already to cover. You go back to when they go back to the Highlands back in the past, and there you go to a completely different filming set where you've got like the Xena and Hercules type stuff happening, but with gargoyles instead of people. And I just think that there's a lot of potential here, especially for Disney to be able to go back and put this in live action. Plus, the people that grew up with this and are the people that are really interested in it from that cult classic perspective. I would love to see that spit shine and high live action polish put on it.
For sure. Personally, I'd like to check it out as a movie versus a TV show, just because I think that the budget would be slightly bigger.
Well, that's definitely true.
I think I need to revisit the show. I watched it, as you said, on the Disney Afternoon. I think first couple seasons, there was a time where I just fell out of it. But no, Gargoyles is certainly a show I would love to revisit in its animation form. And I can definitely see it working in live action form. I mean, just...
Right, well, and that's kind of what I was getting at a little bit, too, is that, for better or for worse, the grim and gritty is something that's being beaten to death these days, and it would give Disney a chance to have that urban grittiness with that fantastical touch at it, too.
Mm-hmm. Cast it. What do you want?
Oh, jeez, man, you pulled a quick one on me, man. I didn't really get that one out. You have a cast?
Andy Serkis for everyone.
I was thinking more practical effects than mocap myself, but,
Of course.
Channing Tatum as Goliath. Done.
Yeah, Gargoyles would be, it would definitely be a foray into the dark and the gritty, but we don't have to go that far back to see something extra dark and extra gritty. Disney took a real risk producing The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Basically, they took Victor Hugo's novel and whitewashed it as much as they could. I mean, they changed the ending so that there was
an actual happy ending.
Happy ending, a happy-ish ending, where, everyone doesn't die horribly. But even then, it's a horribly dark picture.
Yeah. And everyone's picked up on the little hints.
Judge Claude Frollo, who basically becomes so enamored with this gypsy dancing girl. To be fair, she does a pole dance.
Yeah.
In the middle of a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. And so
with their clothes on.
Basically, this perverted old man. There's an entire scene of him like praying, asking the Virgin Mary to help him rape this girl
in song.
Yes, in song. And if he can't do it, then to help him find her, arrest her, and burn her at the stake. And
in song.
So all in song. And so, what I think would be definitely a risk. I mean, the animated version was a risk. Mm-hmm. But, again, I don't think you could separate this film from the music. It would all have to be there. But this would really be a chance for some actors to really explore their chops as far as,
I would agree.
Yeah. I will say you cast the right person for Judge Frollo, and this movie will just leap off the screen.
True.
Channing Tatum.
Actually, you know who they could cast? They could cast Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz would be an excellent Frollo.
Yep.
Frollo Baggins.
Frollo Baggins.
So, what I think this movie could work too. But I think Disney should just say, you know what? Compromising on the Hunchback of Notre Dame didn't work, so let's just go full dark.
Fair enough. I think there's probably one where they could try, and it would be risky. But I mean, the Hunchback was not a critical success. Mm-hmm. It was not a financial success, but it has gained a following. People appreciate the mostly the music. I find is what people are really, really into.
We came across a movie that I don't really think there'd be much of a risk for Disney to remake. In fact, it's just potential for huge payoff if they do it right. Ben, would you like to tell us what that is?
It's the Black Cauldron. After Walt Disney's death, the studio was having a lot of trouble finding their footing, finding direction, and they put out a lot of stuff that just frankly wasn't up to the caliber of what the company had been producing. And the very low point of that phenomena was the Black Cauldron. They tried to bring us a story that was very very dark, very rooted in the realm of fantasy. They tried a lot of effects that frankly didn't work.
At the time.
To be fair. And they tried to be groundbreaking. It backfired. And it is widely regarded as the very worst animated feature ever produced by Disney. It was so bad that until just very recently, They didn't even want to release it
Mhm.
to home video. That happened very, very, very recently. I mean, given the success of Lord of the Rings and just
Game of Thrones.
Game
Yeah,
of Thrones,
Game of Thrones.
give us
High
the Black
fantasy
Cauldron.
is big right now.
Mhm.
Disney has the ability. They have a franchise on tap that, yes, they made many mistakes with in the past, but they can go back and they can take this and they can reshape it using their considerable hindsight and experience and resources into a high fantasy genre that Disney owns. Look at what they've done with science fiction and comic books, thanks to their more recent acquisitions of Lucasfilm and Marvel. They've taken them, they own them, but they're also giving the creators space to work and make these things in their genres. Imagine getting people that have worked on Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, Disney courting these people and saying, we have a fantasy franchise that we want to start and make, a Harry Potter linked series of movies, or even somebody like for the people that have worked on the Harry Potter movies. That kind of muscle put into a franchise that could go a little bit darker. When you look at a villain like the Horned King, he's scary as shit.
Yeah.
And you could do some cool stuff with this.
Like
Absolutely.
If we just told you the premise of the Black Cauldron, okay, look, we have a warlord called the Horned King that wants to use this thing called the Black Cauldron to raise an army of undead zombie warriors to take over the world.
You don't question that he's the good guy.
You would watch it. You would watch it. So
Well, especially and especially knowing that it's coming from Disney, you'd watch it because you know that it's safe. It's going to be a story worth telling, and it is. That's the thing, is that despite its technical problems and despite its very short runtime and its hurried hurried script, the Black Cauldron is actually a good story. It just wasn't developed enough, and that's the only thing Disney didn't do. In this day and age, you have a field that's ripe for exploration, especially in terms of fantasy. And it's one of Disney's stronger fantasy franchises that you can explore that's not only original, but it has some, timelessness to it.
Well, it's not original. It's based on a book.
it's a book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by original, I mean it's not Hunchback.
Well, it's
not,
not-
yeah.
Okay.
It's not something that's
It's
easily
not a fairy
recognizable.
tale.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think,
go ahead.
I think with some of the other movies we've discussed, we've taken movies that experienced some success, in the box office. Like I brought up the Little Mermaid. It was such a success at the box office. It kicked off this whole new era of Disney animation. That's why I thought it should get the remake treatment. Black Cauldron, that's we're going in a different direction. We're saying that this movie needs a second chance.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
You have to clean the turds off of it to give it
But
give it
that's-
something worth watching.
That's the thing, is that I do think there's something underneath those turds that is worth cleaning off.
Yeah, and the cool thing is
Absolutely.
that not only does it just come from a book, it comes from a book series.
That's what I was getting
And
at earlier.
Franchise.
Uh-huh.
Franchise.
Again,
Yeah,
as we talked about earlier, Disney is not shy about cranking these things out. They're sitting on a franchise.
What are
We're
you
gonna get
talking about?
Cars 3 soon.
Or really? Not Pirates of the Caribbean 5? That's
I'm
already
okay
live
with it.
action.
I'm fine.
I know there's a lot of people that are fine with it, but the first 3 I actually really liked, despite what a lot of people said about World's End.
But to your point,
Yeah.
Disney is sitting on this with the Black Cauldron. They could
Yes. They could easily make a Black Cauldron 1, 2, and 3. Not to mention 4, 5, and 6, depending on how far in the book series they want to
But
go.
they've got to stick to it. I mean,
Yeah.
they started
Yeah.
with the Chronicles of Narnia.
Mhm.
They gave us, what,
The first 2, I
to the
believe?
first 2,
Yeah.
and then they...
Well, maybe they did the third. I can't
Did they
remember.
do the second one?
No.
They did the second one for sure. I just don't know
Well,
if
it's
they did the first.
we
Caspian,
did
and
get
then they
Voyage
stopped.
of the Dawn Treader, but
But
I think
Disney
that was
didn't do that one.
Disney did not do that.
Oh, that's right. It was
correct.
someone else, yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for us today with talking about the live-action Disney remakes. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Maybe you liked something we talked about. Maybe you didn't like something that we talked about. Maybe there was something we completely missed and you think we should know about it.
But yes, please comment below. We like hearing what you think, and we will put most of your better comments in future episodes.
like us, subscribe us, share us. Thanks for watching.
Did you say dangerous to remake Mary Poppins?
Stupid.
Kind of
Dude,
risky.
Dumb.
It's risky because it's impossible to make successful.
All right.
It's
but we-
impossible to make audiences happy with whatever is produced.
Like a high def remastering or something.
Yeah, it's not
go
the
back
high-
and scrub the film, make
Yeah.
it look nice, put it on,
or some kind of documentary or something.
There you
You
go.
add some AT-ATs and dewbacks into the background.
Yeah, don't pull a Lucas.
Um,
Look, just don't touch Mary Poppins, because anytime if you
Greedo
do
shoots
that,
the
Chimney
it's,
Sweep steps over Jabba's tail.
it's yeah.
Mr. Banks shoots first.
The point we're making is that revisiting Mary Poppins is very dangerous, and it's very unlikely that you're going to produce anything that's gonna make audiences happy. So just don't do it. Move on. There's better ideas, and we've provided a few here. You have a few of your own, obviously, since you're remaking Mulan, which is a fantastic idea. That was totally one of ours on the list, and then we heard you optioned it, and we're like, yes, that's perfect.